Welcome to the Connectable podcast.
The Connectable podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so I'm just going to say this right now. We don't have an official intro, but if anybody's been on this podcast before, you guys know that we take a screenshot of us and our guests before the show starts. And this one makes me feel self-conscious. Trav, I've told you this before. Like, we have two very attractive, beautiful people on this podcast, and then me. And it's one of those things I talked to my wife about. It's like, did you see Trav and Melissa's pictures? Don't you hate that? Don't you hate it so much? Because our pictures, like, I have to take GoPro pictures, like where I'm hanging upside down at a playground to make people, you know what I mean, get them to look at my picture. So we have the awesome Travis Cole back again for, I think, like the 4th or 5th time, and his lovely wife, Melissa, for the first time. We're so thankful you guys are here today. What's going on?
This is exciting. This is Mel's first podcast ever. I'm not like, I feel experienced because I've been on with you a handful of times, but you're the only one I've been on. But I'm excited.
And my first podcast ever.
Yeah.
Which is, we were just talking about this. That is shocking to me that you haven't been on other podcasts, because you have such an amazing, blog, Instagram, following. I'm shocked that this is the first. I'm honored that you decided to do my podcast.
Yeah, well, I was saying, I mean, I kind of do a little bit of a, I guess it's not a podcast, but my stories is kind of like my podcast daily. I was just talking about how, I can be kind of, I have to be protective with my time, just because, you can get so many offers and feel like you have to say yes to everything. But, in talking with Travis, I think he has a special heart for you, Josh, and he's talked about that a lot, and he really respects you a lot. So, I thought it would be a cool opportunity to hop on with him and, do our thing together.
That's right. Do it together.
That's awesome. I kind of want to cry based on what you just said. That makes me feel so good. In fact, I'm gonna like just cut that clip and play it for Rachel. Like, see, these people, they like me. What about you? That's awesome. So, what I'm going to do, typically I would ask Melissa kind of what you do. And I would just give you the space to just let us know everything you do. But the focus of this is more about you guys as a couple, but maybe can you just give us a quick idea of what you do and, kind of your influence in the social media world?
For sure. So I have been technically, I guess you could call me an influencer now these days. That's kind of a term.
You guys hate that stuff, don't you? I feel like influencers hate that term.
Yeah, at this point, I remember actually when I first got started, I referred to myself as an influencer, and I literally had someone offended, like, you just called yourself an influencer. I'm like, but that's a thing these days, like, I'm not trying to maybe I should humble myself. No, no, but I'm an influencer, blogger, social media whenever, because Travis and I do it together. So whenever, people ask Travis what we do, he just says, so what do you say? Marketing?
Online marketing.
Because he wants it to sound like somewhat professional, which is true. I do. Yeah. I do a lot of marketing. So yeah, we've been doing that. I've been doing that now for, is it 8 years, 7 years?
Yeah.
7 years or 8 years.
Yeah.
And has turned into a pretty successful business, particularly the last 3 to 4 years. So I have a following of, 300 and something thousand on Instagram. That's kind of like my main platform that I focus on. So yeah, it's an interesting world for sure. And anytime I tell anybody what I do, they have like a million questions. They're like, wait, how does that work? Because it's so bizarre and so unique. And it's honestly awesome. It's like what I've always, it kind of like fell into my lap, but it's right up my alley. Like, it's just, I'm very passionate about it and I love it. So that's kind of what
awesome.
I do. Yeah.
I have so many questions about what you just said, but I'm going to refrain a little bit because, like I said, the direction of this is about you guys together. So if this is not a horrible experience for you, Melissa, maybe we can have you back on where we can talk the ins and outs of what you do specifically. And then if it is a horrible experience for you, I'll just forget that I even mentioned this, and no pressure. So let's just get into it. Like, how did you guys meet? How and when did you guys meet?
Well, I'll start since you just got done talking. We met actually in high school. We went to the same high school. I was 2 grades older than her, and I was just telling her dad, because her dad stayed with us over the holidays or just recently, and he was was telling him that when I was a sophomore in high school, her brother was a grade below me, and we played on the same basketball team. And when he was a freshman, I was a sophomore. And she came into a gym, and we had finished our game, and I was staying watching the varsity game. I was sitting with my mom, and I leaned over to my mom, and Mel had walked in. At this time, she was in 8th grade. I was a sophomore, and I mentioned to my mom, I was like, "Man, that girl is new here, and I was like, she's really cute." Telling my mom this, and I don't remember ever telling my mom that about any girl. I just mentioned it to her. She walked in. I was like, "Yeah, she's really cute." I was like, "She's in 8th grade though, so it's like she's too young." And then high school goes on. The year I graduated, my senior year, one of my best friends was a grade below me and had mutual friends with her, and we kind of met that summer, the year I graduated, and literally started dating. I was
19 and I was 15.
I was 19, 15, and I waited till she was 16.
16. So he
Yeah.
waited till I was 16 because that's a little bit better. But
Yeah.
19, 15,
I know.
can you imagine?
I said, I don't know how, like, your dad's too kind to
Even
me,
my
and
dad
your
said
mom.
when he was here, he was like, at first I was like,
Yeah.
who the heck is this guy? Like, what is he even thinking?
I was like, I say to this day, I don't care how good that guy is. I would
Exactly.
not let my daughter date a 19. I'd be like, "Sorry, girl, you gotta wait."
I'm in the same boat. I don't care how nice you are.
Yeah, I know. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but anyways,
you have daughters. You can't even.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
a long way from dating.
I know.
But yeah.
like no way.
I know.
Oh, as soon as they were born, I started thinking about that stuff. Like, I just wanted to like lift more weights, take up like MMA classes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, we started dating when she turned 16, and I don't know why we waited till 16, but it just sounded better, obviously. And her parents were very gracious enough to allow me to date her, and so we dated all throughout. I mean, pretty much from then until we got married. And we got married, I was 24. She turned 21 a couple months after we got married. I had to buy her a drink on our wedding. I don't know how to. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was. We've had a lot of history together, and
Yeah.
I feel like
Grew up
our
together.
adulthood has been together. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
since high school on, and
Right.
we took maybe a couple breaks here and there, but not for long. Maybe a couple months, and that was about it. So we had, I don't know, we have a lot of history together, and have been through a lot, and continue, fighting all the time for our marriage and our relationship and our family. So yeah, it's been cool.
That's awesome. So Melissa, from your perspective, like when did you notice Trav, and like how did that first, like what was that first connection or that first meeting like?
Well, Travis Cole, like
Oh, gosh.
everybody kind of knew like Travis Cole, like if you know, it's kind of one of those things.
I feel the same way about him. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, I know. He still has that to this day.
No.
Yeah.
He actually told me, I'll never let him let this down.
She's gonna say
you know
it.
what I'm gonna
I
say.
know
You know what I'm
you're
gonna say. There's a couple things, because you know Travis well. There's a couple things. He's such a good guy. He never says anything wrong. So it's like if he ever says anything somewhat controversial, I like hold on to it. So he told me when we were dating, he's like, "Well, you know that I can get like any girl in the high school, right?" And I was like, "This guy is dead serious right now."
You don't know.
So
That's so out of context, though.
I actually don't. You might be right. I might have taken that out of context. All I know is that you said it, and I've never
Yeah.
let him live that down.
That's all
I
she
still
heard.
bring it up
That's
all
all she
the
heard.
time.
I don't know how it
Because
was.
the humble Travis that he is, that is not a common,
No.
thing to come out of his mouth. So
I'm sorry. That's where it stuck in my head. Like, just so you know, Trav, Melissa, whatever just happened, that's all I hear in my head.
exactly.
So that's stuck, dude. Like that's the story I hear, and that's what I'm gonna believe. I don't care if it's different.
Dunzo.
Oh man, I know it sounds terrible.
I know.
She tells people this still to this day, and
told
I
you.
remember like when I said it, it was like there's
It's
no
okay.
really good way
I
of
know,
saying it.
I
I know.
He's trying. See, look at him.
I know.
He's trying to let's just move on.
I know, but
Oh my
but, like,
gosh.
they held that to me for the
course I
last
have.
like how 20 years,
50
probably.
years.
20
Yeah,
years. she's
whatever.
held
That's
that.
incredible.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, we, like you said, we met through a mutual friend, and I mean, it just kind of went from there. And so like, I knew who he was, but as we got to know each other, I didn't know, like, I knew he was Travis Cole, but I didn't know, I hate saying that, but I didn't know that he was like, as like kind and like humble and like sweet and as great of a person as he was. So, then when I got to know him, just went from there.
One of the things about Mel, well, so part of that, like, expectation of like, it's Travis Cole, she was 2 grades below me. So, and when you're a senior in high school, you have more influence, and like, so people look up, underclassmates look up to you, and you kind of put you on a pedestal when you're not on any kind of pedestal. But at that age, people tend to do that. But yeah, when we started dating, I think one of the things that always drew me close to her, I'm a pretty easygoing, mellow temperament, and she's just got a lot more personality.
And then there's Mel.
Excitement. Yeah.
How do we explain this?
And no, she's just got more personality, like more life of the party, like more exciting. And every time we were together, I always had a lot of fun. I always had a good time. And she was kind of like, she reminds me a lot of my mom. My mom was kind of the same way. My mom and dad's relationship was similar as far as personality goes.
Compare that.
Yeah. And
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I remember my mom would be like, "What do you like about her?" I'm like, "She kind of reminds me of you, like just a lot of fun, big personality, and just fun to be around. Always made life fun. Still to this day, she tends to be uppity, exciting, and the party, where I'm just kind of like, all right, like,
I've never
just
heard
chill.
you say this about yourself.
Yeah.
No, this is about me.
I know, but
Yeah.
That's funny. What's funny about that is, I think, so when I started interning with you, Trav, obviously, like, we're connected, but we don't really, like, we have a lot of common connections, but we don't really run in the same social circles. But the first social event gathering that I ever went to with both of you present was, I think it was Blake Vandemar's birthday. And they had it at the chapel at Capitol, and just a bunch of people. And I remember Rachel and I walked in, and I saw like Melissa up in front with a bunch of people, and they were like, dancing, being silly and crazy. And I'm looking around like, where's Trav? And like, he was like hiding behind the ping pong table. So
that's about right.
That's pretty much seen at every wedding.
Oh yeah. That's
opposites attract, I guess.
Yeah. In this case, opposites have really attracted. I really try to picture myself like with someone more mellow temperament, or like kind of a temperament like me, or personality. And like, I think I would be miserable. I would be really bored. I think I wouldn't get in probably near as many fights. We get in more fights. Just, I don't know why, clash more here and there, but yeah, life would be much more boring. And I've told her that plenty of times. So I appreciate her spazzy, or not spazzy, but wild side, wild personality.
This is my favorite part about having married couples on. Like, there's always a couple of things said. It's like, oop, this could turn into a conversation later.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Later.
Where are you going with it? Oh yeah, I'll totally bring up a few of these things later.
Yeah, I've had like this. Me, it's like, as the host, just drop a couple grenades, and then I get to log off for the night. You guys have to deal with whatever nonsense happens.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. But I like what you said though about this whole, because I'm sure, there's no like clear cut way to do a marriage, right? There's a lot of couples out there that have similar personalities that are thriving, some that aren't, some that have opposites that are thriving, some that aren't. And I was actually talking to Rachel about this a little while ago. It's interesting because when you do have two people that have different personalities, when there are issues, and I think you guys could probably, attest to this better than anybody, it sounds like, when you have the two different personalities and there is a problem, you can't just let it slide, right? Like, if you have two people that are mellow, you might be able to let that issue slide for a while because neither one's going to bring it up. But if you have two different personalities, the clash is coming at some point, and you're almost forced to deal with the issues. Like, have you guys found that to be the case?
100%.
Very much so.
Yeah. All right. There you go.
And
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you go first.
No, yeah, I would 100%. Like I can let things slide for a long time. And it not to say that I can just like hold it in and never talk about anything without it affecting the way I treat her and whatnot. Cause I can hold things in for a long time without ever saying things, but I'll definitely not be treating her good. I'll be very distant. That's what I do. When I'm mad at her, I don't bring it up to her. I distance myself as much as possible because I know it just drives her crazy too. Like tick her off.
Well, that's why you do it.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
There's multiple reasons.
Yeah.
You know, I can read you like that
Yeah.
though. So then
She knows.
within 2 seconds, I'm like, what's wrong? What's
Yeah,
wrong?
yeah.
Something's wrong.
Like
Nothing's wrong.
nothing.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
wrong?
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's so funny.
that's one big thing that we really learned over the years is when if I am upset about something, I have to force myself to bring it to the table and address it. Otherwise, it turns into multiple days of us just being at each other. Whereas if I just address it faster and communicate my frustration, things tend to go a lot smoother. We're much more happier. So it's still one of those, like, I know that about our marriage and I know that about myself, but it's something I still work on and have to be disciplined at bringing things up when I need to. And I never claim to be perfect about this, but I definitely am aware of it and try to be better. So
Yeah, we've gone to counseling a few times now. But the first time that we went, so we have 3 kids. Our first son was a newborn, and it was just a crazy time all around for a lot of different reasons, but just newborn, adding that. And I had like postpartum depression and just a bunch of different stuff. And so we went to counseling, and one of the major things that she explained, and it really makes sense, is kind of what you said, is that like every couple has a cycle. And there's like a book on it. I wish I remember what it was, but every couple has a cycle, and you'll notice, now that I talk about it or point it out, you'll probably find what your cycle is and be like, you're right. It kind of just, that pattern tends to play over and over every time you, are frustrated with each other or, upset, bugged, annoyed. So in our instance, I am the more aggressive or like out there personality, and he is more, to himself or reserved. And so I tend to lash out a little bit more, and he's more reserved. But the more that I lash out, the more that he runs, and the more that he runs, the more that I lash out. And it's like we're playing this like chase game where we're literally like going in circles, and I keep thinking the more that he runs, the more that I need to get him, right? And it's like she kind of had to explain that to us, like break it down. Like, Melissa, he sees that as like a threat, and to me, I'm like, because for me, I would want someone to be that way with me, because that's how I communicate, that's who I am. And he needs that space and that like comfort and very almost just like a safe place. And it's not safe when I'm attacking. So whenever we get into, confrontations or whatever, we notice it's that same pattern every time. And so now that we can recognize that, I think it helps us at times to, just learn how to better communicate and respect each other, because what we need isn't necessarily what the other person needs. So that has been a huge help in recognizing that in our relationship.
Oh yeah, that's incredible. And some of the stuff with marriage stuff like this, and Rachel and I have only been married for we'll be coming up on 6 years this year. But actually, now that I said that, I need to do the math over again. I might be wrong. I wish I shouldn't have thrown out a number, but
Sorry. Right.
yeah, oops. That's okay. I edit this. It's fine. I'll save myself. But obviously, still pretty young in the whole marriage game. But you hear a lot of these things, you read books, you hear podcasts, some of the stuff, it always seems so simple when people say it. But when you're in the middle of the battle, when you're in the middle of the chaos, it can be like the most complicated thing. Like what you guys just said makes so much sense, but it's like, it takes someone like a counselor or someone from the outside saying this little simple thing. It's like, oh yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Like it's such a weird part of marriage and any relationship, but like marriage specifically, that's just fascinating to me. Like these simple concepts can be so complex because your feelings are involved and frustrations involved in all these different things.
Right.
And I heard something from one of my favorite artists, musicians. He said a while ago, he's like, when you get married, you have to understand that if you're in a long marriage, hopefully everybody's in this long marriage till the end. But when you're in a marriage like that, there's you almost have to look at it like you're in a bunch of different mini marriages. So like when you guys met in high school, you guys are very different people than you were the next 5 years, and then the next 5 years different than that, because life changes, your interests change, and so I'm like, that's really interesting. It's like for me at least, it's really helped me put my own marriage into perspective. It's like, yeah, who Rachel was 2 years ago was very different, because guess what? We only had one kid. We only had these different things. And so it's like, oh yeah, if you break it down like that, almost like micro goals, right? It's like you break it down into a very small, oh yeah, she's different than she was 5 years ago. So I can't expect the same thing from her that she was doing 5 years ago, because it's not realistic. And so I don't know, what do you guys think about that concept?
I know that's really good. I mean, if that doesn't hit the nail on the head about us the past couple of years, and I mean, I probably changed more than you. I'm just not in a bad way. I don't mean that attacking at all. I'm just being honest.
No,
with everything that you've been through.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that totally.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense.
Yeah, big time.
Well, especially because you guys have been together for, I mean, Rachel and I are in a very similar timeline as you guys. Like we met when we were met at Capitol, and we met when I was a junior and she was I was a junior, she was a sophomore, and we've known each other, been friends, and have dated basically that whole time, and now married. But it's a long time to know a person. You know what I mean? When you really think about it, it's kind of crazy.
We're literally growing up with each other, like especially like what you said. I mean, we were in high school, we were, well, I say babies now because we're like older, but really, I mean, those are the most formative years, between that and college and your 20s. I mean, you change a lot as a person. So
we're still, it was still changing. Like she said, like she mentioned the last couple of years, just changing and different perspective on our world and how, to handle different things. And like we find ourselves in new seasons all the time. We went through a really long season, like before COVID, we went through a really long season of just really good, like good relationship. I would say consistent, like 3 years of just like, everything was like really easy and not a lot of fighting, and maybe not that long, but it was just a really good, healthy season for us. And not to say that this season hasn't been healthy, but it's a different type of, it's gotten easier. But I think anytime, and it's hard to realize this, but like in those tough seasons, it's always like once you get through it, it's like 10 times better on the other side. It's 10 times stronger. Like your marriage is stronger getting through really challenging seasons. And there's times where like we fight like crazy, and it's just feels like it'd be so much easier just to give up and quit and move on. And obviously that's a big decision in itself, and it happens. But man, when you really fight for it, and it's never easy, it's super challenging and hard, and it still is hard. But anytime you get through it, it definitely is. It feels much better and more close afterwards, for sure.
Yeah, like you said, we kind of just everything through COVID. We've had a couple of challenging years, just having different opinions on the world and everything going on right now. As I know, so many families and relationships are facing that. So I know it's not an uncommon, obstacle right now. But yeah, like he said, I can think of maybe 2 to 3 times in our marriage where it was like rock bottom, like just really hard, and not even like we were going to leave each other, but just really hard. And then it can be hard in that moment to think that things can get as, as good as they did afterwards. You don't think that that's possible, but I do feel like we're kind of coming on the end of our tough season that we've had recently. Yeah. And I think we can both say that we're like, oh, well, we're doing okay. It was kind of like, I don't know. We just kind of, I mean, we've gone to counseling the couple times past couple months ago. But yeah, we do whatever, talk a lot, and you do what you got to do, to get through. And those hard times, like you said, only makes it sweeter once you're done. People say that all the time, and it's kind of like cliche,
it is.
but it really is true, because when you look back, it's like, it was worth it. It was really worth it.
Yeah. I love that. Something, and I don't know if you'll remember this, Melissa, but because you post a lot, right? Because of what you do, you're on social media quite a bit. But something I remember, I had a conversation with Rachel after I saw this in your stories. I think someone had asked you a question about divorce, and again, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but something to the extent of like, can you even imagine like you guys getting a divorce? And sometimes when people bring that type of stuff up to people, they're like, well, absolutely not. And it's not even a thought, which me personally, I've talked with Rachel about this before. I'm like, I feel like that's a dangerous mentality to have, where you just automatically say that's impossible. It will never happen.
Yeah.
And the way you responded was like, I can never say 100% no, but the goal, the mission is absolutely not. But like, I can never, and I think that's smart, because like, if you don't acknowledge the danger, that's like when we tell our kids don't touch the stove, it's because we know it's hot. We have to acknowledge that it's dangerous, so that they don't touch it. It's like, no, it's fine. They won't touch the stove. Well, guess what? They're probably going to touch the stove at some point, because they're going to get curious. And so it kind of, I just appreciated the answer that you gave, because I felt like it was an honest answer, because it wasn't, oh no, absolutely not. That's not helpful to anybody, because how many people have gotten divorced? They probably said the same thing.
Yeah.
And so,
if I remember correctly, actually, I think I said like, never say never, but 99.99999%.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's a great recall.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I answer these crazy questions? But
but I think it was a smart answer, because like, you acknowledge the danger of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, but I wanted to kind of go down the counseling road a little bit. I'm going to kind of combine, because I don't want to keep you guys too late. I kind of want to combine these two questions I had for you. One, you've kind of alluded to it a couple of times, and I know, Trav, when you've been on this podcast before, which people love, by the way, I want to point that out. I've heard from a couple of people, you and my brother, people love your guys' episodes. That's why you guys are on so much. So,
can I say something real quick?
Oh, please do.
Before we started this podcast, he had to remind me that he was in the running for the top podcast, but he got booted out by someone, and I could tell that he was a little bit disappointed. So it actually means a lot to him when you say that. I think it really.
It should.
So thanks for encouraging him, Josh.
I said,
no
hopefully us duo will get us to the finals this year.
Maybe we'll win. I'm like, are you serious? No.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a time out here, because I want to acknowledge what's being said right now. Okay, so you were not. I don't play favorites in this tournament. Like, we do this big tournament, like March Madness style tournament. I don't play favorites, but I saw you just coasting through, and you didn't post about it once. You didn't acknowledge it. You didn't see anything. I'm like, I don't think he knows what's going on. Now, I know you. You're competitive. Trav's a very nice guy, but he's also incredibly competitive. And so Rachel's like, is he paying attention? I said, no, he's not, but I'm gonna text him right now. And so
he cares.
See? And so I text him. I said, hey, like, I tried to do it in the nicest way possible. I said, hey, just so you know, you're in the quarterfinals if you want to compete.
That's hilarious.
And he's like, cool, man. And then yeah. And I think it just happened to line up with like a social media hiatus that you're taking. It's like, well, it didn't work out for you. You lost to the eventual champion. But I think you could have competed.
I'm good with that. I don't know. It's
Paul Piercy. He owns a company called Be Active here in Sacramento.
Right, let's go, Paul.
Yeah. The gauntlet's been thrown out. Yeah, I'll get him back on. Oh, by the way, I had Connor Manning on the podcast last weekend or last week. And he talks some trash about you, Trav, because
did he?
just so you know, in complete transparency and honesty, when you and I were texting about the tournament, you're like, hey, I got this random text from some dude that listened to the podcast. Do you have any idea who it's from? It's from Wisconsin. I said, well, it might be Connor, because he's been involved with this tournament. So I told him that. He's like, Trav's such a jerk. He's like, you didn't have my number? He's like, some random dude texted me about the podcast.
Yes.
He hasn't talked to Connor in like years.
I don't know why. I would have never gotten rid of it. I have numbers from maybe it's a different number.
Like 10 years.
Yeah. No, it's been super long.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably listening right now. So just, you got to take it up with Connor, you know? He actually has a really good. If you listen to the last episode, he has an amazing impression of you. And he tells a story about a football game that he was working. He was doing the sticks at a football game that you were playing in, and there you guys had an interaction. And his impression's pretty spot on.
Oh, is that right?
It's pretty spot on. Yeah.
We'll have to listen.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and watch it.
I'll send you the time code and when it's at. So
yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry. Why did I go down this rabbit trail? Dang. What was I saying? Oh, okay. Yeah. Back on track. This was what happens, Melissa, on this podcast. That's why when you don't see Trav like an hour and a half some nights when he's podcasting,
it was a long time last time.
This is why. Okay. So obviously you kind of alluded to it, the craziness of the world, differences of opinions. Trav, you mentioned it when you're on the podcast. Melissa, you've been pretty open about it on social media. You guys have maybe some differences when it comes to political beliefs. As people know on the show, we don't really talk about politics. Us as hosts, we don't talk about politics, but I am interested in how you guys have had to navigate that. And then I imagine some of that has played a role in you guys seeking counseling. You know, I'm sure there's other things as well, but I'm sure that played a part as far as seeking counseling recently. So can you guys just share a little bit about what that journey is like? Because I imagine that there's more people in this boat than maybe we know. I mean, I think you think, well, of course, they're in the same household. They probably have similar beliefs when it comes to, a bunch of things. But obviously this past year or, these past couple of years with everything going on in politics, it's been very divisive in how people have handled different things. And obviously when you add that type of craziness on top of all of the other craziness that is just part of a marriage,
yeah, right.
I guess you guys are trying to get the kids ready, and then there's differences of opinions. How do you handle all that stuff, and how have you guys had to navigate those waters?
Good question, Josh.
you guys heard that? You guys heard the big pause. This is a big question.
How much time do we have?
No.
As much you guys want.
For me, for me, it's funny because before COVID and the last crazy divisive couple years of politics and everything going on in the world, I feel like we were always on the same page and how we view things. And as far as that goes, but we were very
it wasn't something that we talked about all the
time. No, yeah,
it was like nobody really talked about politics until
2020,
right?
Yeah,
sure.
Sure.
For the most part, you know what I mean? Like, and it was like we all had to care about it in 2020.
And I mean, okay, so we definitely had our differences through that season and whatnot. And I feel like we've kind of come to the point where for me, it's not always like that I 100% disagree with what she's saying. I don't see I don't know. I don't know how to say everything without.
Well, I'll say that I think there was a point where we were it seemed a little bit more black and white. And I think as time has gone on, without getting into specifics, as time has gone on, we do agree on quite a few things. And I think that has helped. Also going to counseling, we had to make a really big decision for our family. I was just asking them, I was like, can we say this? But it's pretty public that we've left Capital, the church where we met, and his dad is the pastor at, and, where we invested and both worked there for years. And that was a really just challenging season deciding that as a family. And so, that wasn't a decision that we knew that we could make on our own. And we're really close with Cole and Caitlin Zick. Not sure if you've ever talked about them or anything. They're Moral Revolution directors at Bethel, and they were on staff at Capital Christian Center with us. So we were really close with them, and they were like, yeah, you guys, this isn't, you guys really need to seek counsel for that. So that was a really tough season in just having different opinions on, what our future would look like there, and ended up that we, are going to a different church now. And I think things are better now. There's still, lots of feelings involved, and we're still very close with his family, his parents. And, but it's just adding that into it in the midst of everything, was a huge, huge challenge. But I think that, part of that is, and that's why so much of it comes down to personality too, like I'm very much because I'm more like aggressive, and I don't even want to say that I'm a truth seeker and he's not a truth seeker, because he really does care about justice and truth. And that comes out in a lot of what he talks about and what he's passionate about. But I guess just because we see it differently, I'm, very much focused on something that he's not right now. And so I know I'm like, how detailed do you go?
Fine.
So yeah, so it's just been interesting. I will say that I think Travis gives me a lot of grace, as far as, even if he doesn't like see eye to eye, like he does give me a lot of grace on trying to be understanding, or not like throwing me under the bus left and right, even if he doesn't agree with something. And I think that that's huge, because something that, we've had to come to conclusions. And I think that something that I talked about a lot on social media, actually, because we were on such different pages on things, was, what are your intentions? Like, okay, we see this differently, right? Like, you're pretty much over here and I'm pretty much over here on this subject, but like, his intentions are good and my intentions are good, but like, it could just be that we get different sources, our information from different sources, or that, we just see things differently because A, B, C, D, for whatever reason. But like, who he is, like as a person, even though he believes something that I didn't, and who I am as a person, even though I believe something different than him, like, we are both good people. And that was something that we always had to come back to and talk about, because even though it was so hard for me and so hard for him to maybe understand, like, how or why do you see it this way? Like, what is that person's intention? And that's, you could talk about this, the left and the right is really like, when you boil down to like a lot of them, I mean, yes, there's some differences, don't get me wrong, but like, a lot of us really want the same thing. We just see it differently. Right. And that's what it comes down to. And so I think that has been something that has, I, at least for me, always had to center myself when I wanted to get angry or mad and lash out, because that can be my natural tendency for not being understanding or thinking that he's wrong or whatever. I know deep down that Travis has a good heart and, wants to do good, and he's not, doesn't have bad intentions. And so for me, that was like really big. And I actually shared a lot about that, just because I think shared a lot about it through social media and all that, because like you said, you would be surprised at how many split households there are, or just families that are split up and don't talk to each other. And thankfully, we're not in that position. I mean, our families are a little all over the place and, politically or whatever, but we don't have any of that, thankfully. And it's just so sad that for a lot of families that it has gotten to that. I can understand how that does happen. But I think that is, I felt almost not like God put us in that position so that I could share, but the fact that we were walking through that, I thought that maybe that could be beneficial to others to see, like, we're okay. Like, we can do this, if this is tough and this is hard, but that doesn't mean that it has to bring us down here, or that we can't get through this. How can we unify? How can we, see the silver lining or see the good in each other? Cause that's really what it is. And I think a lot of times you can just think someone's a bad person because you don't see eye to eye, but that's not it. There's always more to the story. So anyways, that's just a little bit of
one of the things that I think helped me through the season. For me, it was always hard for me to know like what source to trust, and who's right, like who has the right perspective on what's going on, who, like so many different things that's going on. Like I never knew really what to trust. And so it was always really challenging for me. And she'd be throwing something at me and then I'd see something else that had a completely different perspective. And so I was always trying to be like on Instagram, I'd be on Instagram trying to follow different people that might have different perspectives and whatnot. But it never was like, and then you would hear one thing and then all of a sudden another thing would change. That person's perspective would change, or opinion on something. So it was always just really challenging. So I finally got to the point where I, like probably 2 months ago, I finally just deleted Instagram from my phone. That's why I didn't know what was going on with the competition you had going on at the end of the year. Yeah. But yeah, I deleted it because I don't know. I found myself like just frustrated and almost like I would carry grudges towards Mel without even like talking to her, and she might share something that I didn't agree with, and so I don't know, I just felt like it was easier for me just to remove myself from that platform, and it really actually has helped me. And I've kind of like there was a season where like I wanted to go back and like check things and like see what was going on, and I just like consistently didn't go on. I never checked it ever. Like I went on like 2 different times for like, I don't know, checking something else, I think. But it was I got past the temptation phase of like trying to go check it and check up on things. And it like now I feel so much better without it. Like it's really helped me personally. And I'll go back on it at some point. But for now, it's just been a really good refreshing season. And I kind of just like, for Mel and I, we have a strong faith background, and I turned really my focus and attention on just trying to become better me, and trying to listen to different podcasts and the Bible on the Bible app, and different books that I've been listening to. And so I don't know, I just started feeding myself more with that, and I think it's just helped my soul in general. And I think it's, helped me be a better dad, a better husband, and just bring more peace. So I think that was one thing that really helped me personally through that challenging time.
Yeah, those are both your answers were awesome. It's like such a great perspective, and I think, I mean, we could probably just do a whole podcast on just everything you guys just said, because I mean, it just has my mind going in a couple of different directions. But yeah, I mean, just that anything that's that, that can be that divisive is challenging. I mean, you see it all the time on social media, right? Like people, complete strangers, don't live in the same city, same state, have these nasty interactions, whether it be Facebook or Instagram. They don't know each other. You bring that into a household where you have all kinds of bullets, emotional attacks ready to go at that person. It's like those daggers cut deep, so that's where I think it's really tricky when there's those types of issues, because you see it all the time. Like it's people get so fired up, and then it's like, if it dips or kind of steers into the personal direction in a marriage, I mean, it gets really dicey, right? Because like you guys know, like we all know, if you're in a relationship or married to someone, like, how to hurt that person better than anybody else. And so, you know what I mean? In a situation like that, it's like, whew,
That's like stabbing her.
Yeah. So true. You know what I mean? It's like, I know like the insecurities and stuff like that. It's like, and it's like, it's easy to do though, right? Like, I mean, like, I love sports. Trav, you love sports. You see that on sports social media, when you're talking about 2 different fan bases, which by the way, great. Just want to remind you, I'm a Packers fan. So it's been a rough couple weeks. Weeks.
Sorry, we got stabbed last week. So.
Yeah, it's been rough for everybody, it seems like, in the NFC. That's a different podcast. We don't talk about that. I'm hurting, but yes. But
I told Mel the other night. Sorry to go off subject, but I was in a really depressed.
He literally
mood.
told me, he's like, I think I'm depressed.
I was like, I literally could not forget about it.
That is like
it was just eating me up.
That's weird,
that night, and the next day I was good. So.
You're a diehard. That's very you're loyal.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
I get.
I get. Well, it depends on the day. Yeah. Man, again, this is not a football conversation right now, but I'm just so used to so many devastating losses. In the NFC Championship or the Division Series. That's like, it's another year. Here we go again. So wait until baseball season. No, I love what you guys said. I'm not even going to try to add on to that, because I think it was just a great answer. So kind of taking this in a little bit of a different direction, and maybe it kind of ties into what you guys were just talking about. So Melissa, you being an influencer, or however you want to define yourself, online marketing, is that you guys said? Online marketing. Yeah. Just really awesome on social media. How about that?
Really awesome.
Really awesome. Obviously, if anybody has followed you, they can tell by your stories. I mean, you guys just had an amazing trip, it looks like, was it Wyoming you guys went to?
Yeah. Yes.
And you guys have posted stuff like that. You guys are doing these amazing trips with your kids, and they see all these things, and it's like, hey, that's an incredible life that this world, this job of yours, this career of yours has provided for you guys. So once you entered that world, I guess, what has been the really I mean, it seems like it's pretty obvious like what some of the good things are, but maybe what are some of the more challenging things that world specifically has added to your marriage?
Good question, Josh.
That's a good question. And I almost wonder if you should answer that, because for me, it's more because I think that would be more so something that Travis would struggle with it rather than me, just because I feel like I'm doing what I love so much.
Yeah.
And
I'll try and answer for her, and I'll answer for myself too. You should answer for yourself, obviously, but I think for me, some of the things that you've expressed to me, your frustration is just, there's our dog.
What's up? Hey, we're a pro dog podcast. We have dogs popping in here all the time.
So I'm sorry.
He's been laying at her feet the whole time.
Everybody says that. Literally, everybody's like, "Oh, by the way, there's a dog behind the camera." Like, what? Every time. So we love dogs on the show. So one day we're gonna get a dog. One day we're gonna get a dog. What's up, Holly?
I don't like this dog though. I don't like him.
Let's not talk about him.
Wait, what?
It's another issue in our marriage.
Oh no.
I know, right? A dog.
A dog. What is that like an all dogs thing, or is it this dog? Sorry, Molly. I don't want or Holly. Is it Molly or Holly?
It's Ollie.
Oh, I'm completely wrong. Ollie.
Yeah. He's looking around.
He's looking around.
Sorry, man. I didn't mean to call you two girls' names. So is that a dog thing, or is it a Ollie thing?
It's more so an Ollie thing. I'm not a big guy though.
Okay.
I'm not a big dog guy. I tell people all the time. I didn't want a dog, and I fought it for the longest time, and finally she showed me a little puppy, and I was like, fine, I gave in.
Fighting dirty.
2 days after, I was like, we got to get rid of him.
And our kids love him.
Our kids love him.
It's 4-1. I mean, he's screwed out.
We're stuck with
it. It is what it is.
No shot. Yeah. If you got rid of the dog, you went from dad of the year to you're a monster. You're a monster. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it wouldn't fly.
I told them I could get rid of him though and get 2 dogs because he bugs me.
Wait, so you're not a cat guy though, are you?
No, not really.
Okay, because I would have lost. I love you, Trav, but I would have lost so much respect for you. I hate cats.
Oh no, not an animal person.
I'm not an animal guy at all. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I love wild animals. Like I'm really intrigued by wildlife, more so than pets. I don't know why.
So you love like Shark Week. That's your thing.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay. Yeah. Rachel loves that. I'm like, oh, enjoy. You're not gonna see me for a week. So
yeah.
That's funny.
Okay, back to my answer for Mel. I think one of the things that has like
I've expressed
that your frustration in it is just people's negativity towards you, like taking shots at her. People don't understand, like, you hear the drama on social media all the time where, people feel like they can just be all strong and bold behind their keyboard and throw shots at the other side. But it's funny how when you hear those really mean negative things towards you, it actually really does affect you and affects, your thoughts towards yourself. And even though without a shadow of doubt, it's not true what's being said about you, but it still hurts. It still affects you. And I've heard her express that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
At different times, not like it all the time. And she's really good about blocking it out. She's got pretty tough skin. Yeah. And I think you have to be in that, on that platform to be successful. I think that's probably one of the negative sides for me.
That hasn't really affected our relationship though.
No. Were you asking how it affected our relationship?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't matter. Hey, just run with the ball, man. Whichever direction you want to go. Well, I mean, I guess it would affect you guys. I mean, a little bit because it's just this like constant like negative cloud hanging over your head, right? And
and it's all the time. She gets a ton of really.
It was more
positive.
So in the beginning, to be honest. Like he said, you really do have to learn to have just try to let it roll off, and part of that again is my personality. I don't know. It doesn't affect me, I think, as much as most people. But yeah, I mean, I'm human too. So some things I'm like, wait a second, that wasn't very.
One of the challenges I think for me in that the industry is just been it feels like it's 24/7. So like we've gotten in arguments and discussions regarding this before, where it doesn't ever feel like it's turned off, and that can be a challenge. And so I think, just on the family in general and family life, like, and I think it's something she works on too, and that we still try to balance. But just having, like, especially like on trips, like having set time where the phones are away and we're just trying to spend time with the kids and our family. And but yeah, I think that's probably the biggest frustration and challenge that industry brings between us and our family.
Yeah.
That's probably one thing that I've brought up a handful of times.
Yep.
But yeah, so honestly, like at the end of the
everything
day,
has pluses and minuses, right? It's such a great, we're very fortunate. Like you said, we take, like 80% of the trips we take, we pay for.
Yeah, we pay for.
There are some that are sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like a part of what I do. People are just very into the whole traveling side of it. And so, we like to do that.
With what she does though, honestly, like it's easy for me to get like frustrated at different things, whether that be too much time on the phone where she's working, or whether it's, I'm 24/7 with the kids at different times, and that can like be a frustration and, almost feels like a burden on me. And because I tell people I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I've said it on here, I think, before too. But
you were hesitant to say it, but you did.
Yeah.
My main role.
Yeah.
But that brings on my own like personal challenges, like being the man of the house. Like I don't bring in the income, like Mel brings in the income. And it's just been a unique season for me the last few years where, and I've threatened her many times that I'm about to go, I'm going to go get a job because I'm like not handling things good. But yeah.
It's because like going back to like what you said earlier, it's like, hey, I'm Travis Cole. I can get any job I want.
Yeah. No,
not just girls.
I worked landscaping for 13 years.
I think,
no,
I think it's funny because it's like, he's got the mom job, and any mom knows how much a 24/7 mom job is not an easy job, until you take it. And then you're like, I joke with him though, because I will say that when this gig started going, I remember exactly where we were driving, and I said, what was my question? I said something like, oh, what would your dream be? Or what would be like your end goal? And he's like, to be a stay-at-home dad. And he's like,
okay.
Then
here we are years later. And I'm like, I gave you exactly what you wanted, babe.
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty good.
I know, it's so funny because like I've never really known like I know I have like good traits about me and like good characteristics and stuff, but like as far as like a purpose or like a job goes, I've always struggled with like, what am I going to do next? Like what's my purpose to, on this earth, to what kind of job am I supposed to be doing? And I don't know, I've read, like, I've come to the conclusion that like, I really feel like, I do feel like I'm a good dad. Like that's one thing I'm confident in. And I think like that's my purpose right now. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm at in the season. And just trying to be the best dad I can be. And
even think of it like that, because you naturally are a really good dad. And now you get to be a really good dad all the time.
And I struggle with like losing my cool, and just because I'm with them, I know I'm with them all the time, a lot. And so I definitely can lose my cool, but I always try to like a new fresh start. I'm like every day I'm like, man, I got to be a better dad today. Like, what can I do to make after school fun? Like, what can I go do? And so I don't know, that's always on my mind. And I do really feel like this season has been really, like, ultimately it's been a really cool blessing. And even with all the little dramas that come and my frustrations of not working, which sounds ridiculous.
It's like anything, right? Like too much of anything is a good thing, there's really, it's true.
But
it's like the people that have all the money in the world, they,
for sure,
they're not happy. So it's
right. Yeah, very true. Yeah. What I saw something the other day. it was like a meme or something, but it was basically like, hey, if you don't get frustrated with your kids, you're not spending enough time with them. So, you know what I
Hey,
mean? Which is a
that
really interesting point.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's yeah, like that stuff happens for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I have a couple more questions for you guys, and then I will let you guys get out of here.
Yeah.
But where do I want to start? This is like more like lighthearted, silly, dumb stuff. Because like I said, this is going to come out the week before Valentine's Day. So if anybody out there is planning on celebrating, listen to
Sweet.
this, and start your Valentine's Day week off right. But
Yeah.
let me ask you this: like, so when Rachel and I, when was this? It might have been like the year before we got engaged. I thought it'd be a good idea to go to San Francisco on Valentine's Day. It was incredibly dumb because not only was it a Saturday, it was like 70 degrees in San Francisco. It was so crowded. I'm not joking when I say this, we did not get out of the car. We could not get out of the car because it was like gridlocked. I couldn't go anywhere. It was awful. And we just like at a certain point, we were just like in tears laughing because it was just so funny. It's like, I'm gonna waste all my gas driving around. We can't do anything. And we ended up like just leaving, after so many hours. Like we did a couple things and it's like, well, we can't do anything else. So it was like, this will be a lot of fun. And then it turned into, this was a nightmare. I'm never gonna do this again. So that being said, what is maybe a date that you guys have gone on? Maybe it was a trip that you guys went on where you thought this would be a fantastic idea. And then all of a sudden it just went completely sideways. And it's like, now it's a memorable date for all the wrong reasons.
Man. Oh man.
I know that's one question I probably should have prepped you guys before ahead of time.
Right?
No,
Like, the only thing that I can think of is one night.
What? Which night? Our honeymoon night?
Yes.
Okay.
That's not a
Oh,
date.
this is actually a good story. And I wish if you guys are only listening and not watching this, it's probably better because like I said, these people are way better looking than I am. So I'm glad you're listening and not watching. But if you're just listening, you should have seen Melissa's face because it was like there's definitely a story behind the face that she just made. So and it's a good one. I like this story.
There's a story.
Yeah,
Have you not heard this story, Josh?
no, he's
Oh, no, I've heard it a couple of times. Yeah,
Oh.
I've heard it a couple of times. I heard it. I think
all
Wants to
right.
hear it
This
again.
is the first thing that popped
I
in.
love it.
We'll say it super fast. So honeymoon night, we
Obviously, you have plans for a great time, right?
yeah.
it's usually how it goes.
And so we were in Sacramento and we had about a 2-hour drive to San Francisco. That's where we were staying at. So
We're gonna keep on the San Francisco theme.
yeah.
Yeah.
We went to San Francisco right after our reception of our wedding night. And as we get there, we got in at like 2 a.m. My dad had booked all the travel for us as like our gift for our honeymoon or for our wedding. And he called like ahead of time and just said, hey, they're running behind. Just letting you know they're going to be getting in, pretty early morning type thing. And so just giving them a heads up and they're like, yeah, no problem. We got your room. The room was already paid for. We get to the hotel 2 a.m. and there's a guy in front of me at the register and they're explaining to him that the rooms are sold out. And I'm like, oh man, what a bummer. Like this is like I said, 2 a.m. I'm like, man, that would be frustrating. Like he was upset. And I'm just like,
And
that stinks.
And I'm like elbowing him, like, hey, this is gonna be us. Like they're literally sold out.
Like we already, I was like, my dad already
he was
called.
like
he
calm
paid.
as what's the
Yeah.
saying? Like cool as a cucumber, calm as a cucumber, whatever. He was just like, no. And I'm like, dude, this is gonna this is gonna happen to us.
And so I
Stop. Like we've said, Travis's personality. Let me just preface this. Travis is the coolest, calmest, even keeled man. But if you cross that line, it's cool. Bam! And then you just do not it is like, get out of the way. And I knew it was coming.
Yeah, there's very few times where Mel can like read it on me. Like she's like, I can see it ahead of time.
And I'm just like, calm down.
Calm down.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
So
anyways,
so I had a feeling that we were on the threshold of whatever that was.
Explosion.
So,
The volcano is going to erupt. Yeah.
my turn comes up and she's like, sorry, sir, we're all sold out of your room. I was like, no, I can't be. I was like, my dad called ahead of time, explained the situation. And so she's like, just giving me no answers, So I was like, all right, let me just talk to a manager. And she's like, I am the manager. And so from there,
So
it
then
just
you like,
went. Yeah. No, yeah.
like this guy was throwing in cuss words in the sentences that didn't even make sense. Like, I was like, what?
I honestly, like, I'm not a big, I don't use a lot of cuss words.
He doesn't cuss, but that's why I'm saying it was like so shocking that it was like he was trying to
I didn't know how to cuss. I was just like mad.
It's just whatever, so that she knew how mad he was that they would do something for us, and it was like nothing was working. It was like, sorry,
Oh my
sir.
gosh.
Out. It is what it is.
And so anyways, she comes back. We do have a conference room. Like
we do have
a
one
boardroom.
room. We have a conference room.
Has a boardroom table.
Oh no.
And
a pull-out bed.
And a pull-out bed. Yeah, fuck. And I was like, well, check it out. So we go up there, and sure enough, it had a couch with a boardroom table in it. And and so
oh my gosh.
And it worked just fine.
And like slept on the
worked
table.
just fine.
All 9 feet of it.
It worked just fine for me. Like it's so funny, the expectations of a wedding night. Like,
oh my gosh, it was literally hilarious. I don't know how many times I said to him, we're gonna remember this will be the funniest story of our lives. Like
that's awesome.
Camera. I mean, oh yeah, it's hilarious. So then, his dad gets on the phone the next day and ends up talking to the vice principal of the Westin.
Vice president.
Did I say principal?
Principal, yeah.
President.
Either one. Yeah.
Yeah. Of the Westin where we were staying, somehow gets his way to talk to her, and they ended up like comping us like a full week stay at like any Westin that we wanted to stay at.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just apologize. So something came out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was a date turned bad. Does that count?
Yeah.
I think that counts. Yeah, I think that counts. Yeah, it's kind of a big date, right?
Yeah.
I love that story. I've heard that. Man, I think I've heard that. I mean, I'm sure I've heard that from the stage before.
Yeah.
And then I think Trav, you shared it with me before, behind the scenes too, and it never gets old. You're right.
Yeah.
But that's the fun thing, right? Like you guys kind of have mentioned it a couple of times, like these things that you think are gonna be like the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it turns into a fun memory, or it's something you guys become stronger for, like with the counseling and the different differences.
Right.
Like it's just like a crazy roller coaster, all the time. And but what a wild story. That's brutal.
I know.
You were getting sponsored trips before, you were even doing the influencer thing. Just it came by in a very different way.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Are you guys big Valentine's Day people? Like, do you guys make a big deal about Valentine's Day?
Whoa, I didn't know. I didn't realize it was
Sorry.
passionate about it. I was ready for that.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I'm gonna wrap it up here. This is where it went off the rails. Sorry, guys. Like, why did Travis and Melissa get divorced? Stupid Connectable podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, like the theme of the show.
I just ruined your show. That could be
Oh.
your intro.
No, hey.
I hate Valentine's.
And all guys pretty much say into that, I think. No, not all guys.
You can't ruin our show. You should see our downloads. You can't ruin our show. We're already there. So I would always show up each week.
For me, it's not that I don't like the romantic side and like trying to plan something special. But for me, like, I feel like we're just getting off of Christmas, and then now it's like another big expectation to like go buy more gifts and do another date night. Like,
maybe like back in the day, we don't really do that kind of stuff.
We
days,
don't.
But back in the day, I mean, this guy, like, you talk about gift giver. This guy the average guy gives what like, I'm not sorry. Now I'm like setting the expectation high, but
you don't set price limit on it. It's just
not a price limit. I'm just saying. He came from a family that like they're just very big gift givers. So.
Okay.
I'm like, just a box of chocolates. I'm like, no, a box of chocolates, a pair of shoes, and
it turned into a tradition.
Yeah, it's like Christmas.
No, like every Valentine's Day, I would give her a pair of, like, she would never buy like tennis shoes for herself. So every Valentine's, it came a funny tradition that I would go get like a pair of Nikes for or something like that. So so I kind of did that, but I don't do it really anymore. Sorry. Oh,
you know what? One time for Valentine's Day, do you remember when he put like his dad's, that was kind of weird because your dad's
Yeah,
office,
it's weird.
but whatever. Nothing was weird.
We were living at our
We were dating.
yeah, we were
And
dating.
he
so we
literally
didn't-
like set up roses in the entire thing. And then like, it was when the movie, what was the movie? The Notebook. The Notebook
That's a
came
good-
out.
The Notebook. Okay.
Come out.
I
And
like
so, anyway, had like all, like literally like candles and roses everywhere. And then we like, on his dad's couch, he just had like blankets and we laid down and watched the movie. I think that was the most memorable one. Now that I
Yeah.
think about it. 'Cause
Ah,
you- and then
nice work.
and then you surprised me with like an ice cream cake or something
Yeah.
after that. I remember.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was good.
That's
Anyway,
pretty-
so
ice cream cake is awesome too.
yeah,
It's
These
not bad,
days-
man.
not bad.
These days with kids, it's hard to like get a babysitter on Valentine's Day night, and like so it's always challenging trying to figure out what to do. So now our kids are in school, which is nice. So
We just do like a day
we
date.
do like a day date, and then
Yeah.
this year I just told Mel that me and the two boys are gonna make dinner for Ella and Mel.
Yeah,
So-
that'll be fun.
We'll do like a little,
Ooh, nice.
yeah.
Cool. Do you have the menu planned out already?
No, I don't. I gotta figure that out.
Okay.
I'm not like specialty cook. You're into cooking, aren't
Oh,
you,
are
Josh?
you?
I do like cooking. I like
Yeah.
cooking. I follow recipes, but yeah, I do enjoy the process. You know what I mean?
Crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of that on the explore page. Like, hey, look at this, look at these like French toast waffles. Like that sounds delicious. That's also why I've gained some weight over the last couple of weeks because of those stupid recipes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll be fun. You'll have to let us know how that goes.
Yeah.
How setting it up goes, and then Melissa, how it turned out. Give us like the review of how the food really was.
Well,
But
they don't actually cook pretty good.
I just follow a recipe too, Josh.
Fit man cook.
Oh yeah, Fitman cook.
oh,
yeah,
I love Kevin Curry, right?
yeah.
Oh, see, he knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love
Those
his-
are like healthier ones, and
Yeah.
they're pretty good.
Yeah.
They're
It's
really
really
good. Yeah, the
Yeah.
I think it's a steak quesadillas are big over here, and that was
Oh,
something
okay.
he did. Yeah, it's like avocado, steak and cheese and some bell peppers. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of his recipes, and it's amazing.
Okay.
We're big fans over here. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, he's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, when I was this is really dumb. I don't know what I was thinking. I was young and dumb. I wasn't thinking, but obviously, like when I don't know if you guys did this when you guys first started dating, but early on, I think some people do like they have their dating anniversary, right? Like this is when we first started dating. I don't know if you guys did that.
Date anniversary. Yeah.
Date anniversary, yeah. I was a moron. I'm not known to be like the smartest guy in the world. This was really dumb. We made that date February 7th, right?
Okay.
Oh
Stupid.
man.
Right. Because a week later is Valentine's Day. And then like 2 weeks later is her birthday. I'm an
Oh.
idiot. I'm stupid. Everybody's like, oh, you moron. Why would you
Yeah.
do that? I said, I don't know. And then it's like, it really stretches the creativity when it comes to gifts. It's like, I'm tapped out by birthday. I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah.
I don't have anything left.
So
Right.
hard.
Right.
Yeah. So once we got engaged, I'm like, we're cutting that. Get that out of
Yeah.
here. That day doesn't count anymore.
And
Yeah.
we're getting married in September.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
close.
far, far away from this nonsense.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it.
That's funny.
So, well, like I said, I want to be respectful of your guys' time, even though I feel like this conversation could go on for a long
Yeah.
time. That's how I feel. You guys are like, we were done 20 minutes ago. But
No, it's
uh,
No, it's been easy.
yeah, it's super easy. Every time I know the last ones we've done have been like what hour and a half or like some pretty long ones. I feel like
it's a long
Hey.
time.
it's easy. Yeah, you make it easy, Josh. You do a good job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Rachel always knows. She's like, okay, you were either in there with Trav or my brother Jordan. Cause that was almost 2 hours. What could you possibly be talking about? It's like, I don't know. You have to download the episode and check it out to find out. So, so before we get out of here, do you guys have, let's go with this. Any final words of advice, encouragement, for anybody out there, anybody, cause I really feel like, I want to make sure at this point, I don't know who's listening, but this is not just really, it's not really just a married person podcast. This could be for anybody. If you're hoping to get married one day, if you're going through some struggles, if things are great and you're wanting to look ahead at what could potentially be a hazard or a speed bump. So hopefully everybody's kind of encouraged. I'm feeling really encouraged by the things you guys have shared, because I think it's a lot of great stuff to think about. But that being said, do you have any final words of advice for whether someone's single, married, divorce, I mean, whatever it may be? What's your kind of final word before we get out of here?
Tough, man. I'm not man of Good advice. I feel like
That's a lie, but okay. You've given me a lot of good advice, man. I told you that before. A lot of, and I'm going to say this right now because you said a lot of kind things about me. I'm going to say this, and I don't. Anybody who knows me, I refuse to say things like this unless I mean it. I just don't like. So if someone says something and I'm just quiet, it's like you don't want the answer that I really feel inside my heart. So if I say this, that means it's true. But like some of the advice that you gave when I was interning for you really helped me as far as my own relationship with Rachel. And some of the and you probably don't know that, but like some of the thoughts and the things that you shared, about you guys and just in general life thoughts in general really did help me as far as that goes. And it has played a very big role in my life and my marriage to Rachel. So I do appreciate you appreciate you for that, man. So I wanted to say that. So this is bull crap. You're like, I don't have any advice to give. You do. So stop it.
All right. I would say,
you know what I mean? You get it, Melissa.
I would say
he's too humble.
This is, I heard it recently, so I'm taking it from someone else, but I think oftentimes we are always concerned about our needs, like our own personal needs in a relationship. And like, you're not doing this for me. You're not doing that for me. And that's never like a way to success. I think you have to figure out what the other person is needing and know their love languages and trying to meet those needs. And then that together usually unites the two of you and helps the relationship, I think. So
yeah,
thinking about the other person and their needs is actually going to get your needs met faster than trying to get that person to meet your needs first.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, love
I
it.
heard, and then kind of on that same wavelength, someone said, it's a little snout.
I see his lips there.
Always,
Still there.
always, the secret to a happy marriage is to always try to outserve your spouse.
Yeah.
And I think that's very good. Also, don't sweat the small stuff. I think for me, that's something, at least like just speaking from personal experience, I used to be like way more nitpicky about just stuff that, small stuff. And it's like, if it doesn't matter, like truly doesn't matter, like it's not going to matter to you, something that you can just shake off, then I think girls tend to be, a little bit nitpicky about things and don't realize it, but just something that I've noticed personally that I used to do that I try to work on. So I guess that's more of a woman's advice to women.
I would say one more. My mom used to always say this too, and I've heard it at other times too, but not bashing your spouse behind their back, like to your friends, just like speaking highly of your spouse. When sometimes you get around a group of friends, it can be easy to, throw in jokes or complain about your spouse that they don't do enough of this, or, whatever it is. But I feel like I've been convicted of that over the season. When we're not getting along, it's easier to do that. And so I feel like for me, I've been really challenged lately just to be conscious of just if things are getting brought up, just to not say anything bad and try to say good things about your spouse, because I think it actually helps. It helps your soul better and your relationship for sure. So it's a better thing. So if you're in a relationship, don't talk bad about them behind their back. I don't think it does the relationship any good. It just harms it more. So try and be uplifting when they're not there.
That's awesome. That's great. I'm sorry. I did have one little note. This is completely off topic, has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, but it's just my brother wanted me to bring this up because dude, every time you come on the podcast, he's like, you need to mention this. I'm like, yeah, no problem. And then I keep forgetting. He loves this because it's embarrassing for me. But however many years ago, you, me, Joe Raby, and Blake Vandermark did the Mud Factor run.
Yeah.
One of those things does not belong me because I was not the same shape as you guys. So my brother came to watch and he was watching from, oh yeah, please.
I was there, Josh.
Yeah, Mel did it too that year.
I was there.
Mel did it.
You were there with us?
You were there? I sure was.
She did it too, man.
Here's the thing. I'm sorry that I said that. And
Sorry that I said that first. So.
Thanks, Jordan, you douche. This is not how it's supposed to go. Okay, well, I'm gonna chalk it up to I had like zero oxygen in my body.
Yeah.
I was gonna die. But he he wanted to bring up the fact that when he was watching from a distance, there's that one obstacle where you have to run up the ramp, the wooden ramp, and then try to get over. He loves the fact that I could not get up the ramp and that you guys had to push me and pull me over the ramp. He loves that.
I don't remember that, Josh. So,
oh, he does. He
doesn't though. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Not when you have a younger brother that brings it up all the time. He's like, hey man, that was funny. It's like, oh yeah, was it?
Those things are all about that. Like that's like the whole thing of those races to like help your brother out, so it probably
it's
probably
like camaraderie.
probably
like you barely don't even need it.
Yeah.
You just kind of like are trying to help each other.
You hear that, Jordan? Take that, man. You thought this was going to go a different direction, but you take that. Yeah. So anyways, he loves bringing that up. So
I bet you'd crush one now. You're in great shape now, man.
Oh no, now it'd be way worse. I'm telling you, man. My daughter's third birthday was this past weekend, and so much cake and candy and food. I am so heavy right now, and the amount of running I've done lately is way low. So I'm struggling right now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I remember at that mud race, and again, something else my brother brought up. He's like, "Hey, why don't you take your shirt off at the end of it, like the other guys? You know why?
Oh yeah.
You know why, bro." So like, I'm like the Pillsbury doughboy out there.
Your brother's keeping it real with you, man.
That's why we love him. That's why we have him on this show. People love when he hops on this podcast. Anyways, I'm gonna stop wasting your guys' time. Where can they follow you guys on social media? All of those places, websites. Where can they follow you guys?
When this guy hops back on.
Yeah, he's gonna come back to this stuff. I've tagged you in so much stuff during that tournament, man. You're gonna come back to just a ridiculous number of notifications.
Well, that's why we haven't heard from him.
Yeah.
I should have put a disclaimer on there that I'm not on there, but I was just like, whatever. I don't know. Just left it.
I'm glad you didn't though, because it bothers me sometimes when people like Melissa. If you did it, it makes total sense because your whole business is online. These other people that have like 30 followers, like, just so you guys know, I'm gonna take a break. Like, no one cares.
I know.
No one cares about you out there.
Thank you, Josh. That was my thought too. I was like, I could do this, but I'm like, I'm not doing that. No, I didn't consider it because it just irritates me when people do it. That's why I didn't do it.
You guys are too much.
And if you did it, you had to say it like third person, like everybody, Travis Cole's taking a break, and then you just walk out.
Oh man.
Now I just say it on your podcast to let people know.
Yeah. Don't bother him.
At Ella Brooks blog on Instagram.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect.
That's our platform.
That's our platform.
Her platform.
And you will see Travis in my stories because he's a highlight. He's a popular one. My story views go up when Travis is on there, so I utilize him as a prop as often as I can.
I like
Travis Cole, it's Travis Cole.
It's Travis Cole. It makes sense.
Travis Cole.
Usually Belle's trying to make fun of me and people like that.
Josh knows.
I've seen it. And I enjoy it. So
it's how we love each other.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I do have one last question. I promise this is the last one. This happens every time. I'm surprised. Here's the thing. Someone's going to like just cut me off one day. It's like, no, end the meeting. Okay. Since you guys brought it up and you guys obviously are both on your stories, your posts, all that stuff. How do I want to word this? Does it ever get weird, like in the DMs? Because obviously like that's something like these days, you guys as a married couple have to be, it's something you have to take into consideration. Like you getting weird messages. Like, I don't. I just get the, hey, do you want to see nudes from some, random bot in Ukraine? But like for you guys, you know what I mean?
Like, do I get DMs like that about like him, like being like attractive and stuff?
Yeah. Does it ever get weird? Like where you guys have to like, okay, like you remember I'm married, right? Yeah.
Hey, I've heard her say not towards me, but like for her.
Not really though. It's really, you want to know the only thing that I really get a lot is like, God to say it, like people have like a weird fetish with feet. That's like
well, I know that's
sorry, that was really left field, but it's the truth.
That's awesome. Well, I just found my clip. I may have to use that as a clip for promo. I mean, this show's basically writing itself.
You have a lot of options at this point.
Yeah.
I have a ton. That's probably towards the top. There you go.
No, I have to each their own, but for some reason that's a popular one up in my DMs. I'm not sure. So
weird. I shouldn't say that's weird because it sounds like there's a lot of people that are
there's
into
a
it.
lot, babe.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
I know, I've heard
Yeah,
that.
in fact, they have like foot like conventions. Like
What?
yes, foot fetish conventions, like where they like get
Josh,
together.
are you aware of this?
Sorry.
Okay,
you
so I'm trying to hold my tongue because like I have to remember this is not my brother here. So sometimes our podcasts get a little bit, it's two brothers. But no, there's a podcast that my brother and I both listen to. I'm not going to say the name of the podcast, but one of their, I guess you can call them producers, a girl, started an OnlyFans of her feet and is making a ton of money.
No, babe, I'm talking like yes. So
What's the fetish? Is it a sexual fetish?
Yes.
What?
They like the toes. I don't know the feet.
I don't understand.
It's not. It really. I think I'm. And maybe
we
I'm
better
wrong.
be careful because it sounds like there's a lot of people that are into this. Like,
Sorry.
if you're into this.
I mean, but are we accepting of that?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a good point. I don't know.
That happened to Rex Ryan. You remember that?
No.
The football. Oh, you didn't hear about that?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. However many years he was coaching the Jets at this time, and we're probably this episode's probably gonna get flagged now. At this point, there was a video of him. He did a home video of him and his wife, and it was focusing on her feet. That was a big deal. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say look it up. You can look up the story, but it's pretty funny and then people started giving him, and then like they played the Patriots not too long after that, and I believe it was Edelman or Welker. I think it was Welker kept making comments in his press conference like, I feel like we really had a foot up on these guys and stuff like that. It's really funny.
That's good.
I'm dead. Okay,
I
heard that there's other countries, and I don't know which ones. I want to say like Ukraine, Russia area. I could be wrong, but European somewhere that it's very like that's where it's very like it's a cultural thing for them wherever they're from,
Right.
And so I don't know if it's international people living in the States that's a big thing, or some people are just they got their own preferences. But anyways, all that to say, not very many people are hitting on Trav, thank God. I mean, they tell me that he's good looking, but
sure. But they don't want pictures of his feet.
no, they do not.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, tell me you have beautiful feet for a man. That's another thing he said. Did you know I have beautiful feet for a man? Yes, he says those words.
I just don't have I don't know.
Did you want to show them?
No, we're not showing. Not after this.
Yeah, we're good. We're good, I think.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, no worries. I got to protect my viewers. So
man. I just went a completely different route.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that answer, but I'm glad I asked.
It's very left field, but again, that's social media for you. You never know what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there, weird people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Well, on that note, there we go. We're going to wrap this thing up. So thank you guys so much for taking some time to chat with me. I think people are going to really enjoy this, and enjoy your guys' Valentine's Day, all your homemade dinner plans and all that stuff. And then good luck with everything you guys have moving forward. Yeah.
His favorite holiday.
Yeah. His favorite holiday. I hate.
I probably just
how many H's were in there, man? That was a lot of H's when you said that. Yeah.
I made a lot of females mad at me, probably.
No.
All the guys liked it.
Okay, but then they're gonna see your face, and then it's like he's forgiven. It's fine. You're fine. All right, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks for watching the show. If you enjoyed that episode, make sure you like it, share it, and hit the subscribe button to get a new episode every week. We'll see you next time on the Connectable Podcast.